Hello lovely viewers, and welcome back to the Bold and the Beautiful News official YouTube channel. The startling disclosures that are going to completely upend the Spencer family and Liam Spencer's enigmatic medical experience. When Grace Buckingham came as Liam's unexpected savior and offered what seemed to be a groundbreaking cure for his life-threatening disease, the medical crisis that had been building for weeks finally reached its dramatic conclusion. But rather than providing answers, the circumstances surrounding this miraculous intervention have left viewers questioning whether Grace's intentions are as good as they once seemed to be. Following in-depth discussions with the university hospital medical staff, it became evident that the hospital lacked the advanced tools and specialized knowledge needed to carry out the delicate treatment that may save Liam's life. Modern technology was simply unavailable within the hospital's existing infrastructure to provide the urgent care that the tumor that had been developing quietly in his brain required. The Spencer family was rocked by this discovery, especially Bill, who had been looking for every way to assist his beloved son get well from both his gunshot wound and this unexpected medical condition. Bill Spencer immediately took action, displaying the resolute leadership that has characterized his personality throughout his turbulent time on the program. He planned a clandestine scheme to get Liam to an exclusive, cutting-edge medical center that focused on the precise kind of neurosurgery procedure his kids sorely need. This transfer needed to be kept under wraps since Bill knew that too much attention may jeopardize the sensitive nature of the process and add stress to an already tense situation. As he saw his son's health worsen, the guilt that had been weighing him down intensified even more. He was unable to shake the eerie notion that his choice to assist Luna in resolving her legal issues had unintentionally set off the series of events that resulted in Liam's gunshot death. This overpowering feeling of duty fed his will to do whatever it took, no matter how much it cost or how far he had to travel, to make sure his kid had the finest medical treatment available. Together with her highly competent surgical partner, Grace Buckingham wasted no time in getting ready for what would surely be one of the most difficult surgeries of their lives. With monitors showing real-time brain imaging and advanced surgical tools that looked more like they belonged in a science fiction film than a hospital, the operating room was converted into a high-tech command center. As the surgical team worked with accuracy and skill to decide whether Liam would have a shot at a normal life or face an uncertain future full of challenges, the stress was evident. The news that Bill had been hoping for throughout this whole journey eventually arrived after the exhausting hours of surgery came to an end. The tumor that had been endangering his son's life had been successfully removed by the surgical team. Furthermore, Liam's initial prognosis was very optimistic. There was no mistaking the relief that swept over Bill's face as he experienced a ray of optimism that his kid would not only survive this medical emergency, but perhaps even flourish in the years to come. But Grace's desire on being paid before performing the operation added a disturbing aspect to what ought to have been a completely selfless medical endeavor. The outrageous $1 million that she asked up advance, since the treatment was not covered by regular insurance, sparked questions and fostered a climate of distrust that would turn out to be justified. This financing arrangement had consequences that would soon become unsettlingly obvious, even though it was not wholly out of the ordinary for specialized or experimental operations. The most concerning event was when Grace checked her phone right away after the procedure and saw that the money had been sent to her personal account instead of the hospital or her place of employment. When considered in the context of her previous behavior, which had included several outward displays of obvious displeasure and anxiety that had drawn the attention of her stepson, Finn, this seemingly benign gesture took on a much more ominous tone. Over the last several weeks, Finn's worries about Grace's mental health had been gradually building, especially after seeing her become more irritated in reaction to enigmatic phone calls and texts. Her actions had become erratic and unpredictable, which raised the possibility that she was dealing with significant personal or professional issues that were impairing her ability to make sound judgments. A terrifying situation that may have far-reaching effects for all parties concerned was created by the likelihood that her medical advice was motivated by financial desperation. Questions about Bill's real reasons for this enigmatic move started to surface as he was ready to covertly move his comatose kid to yet another place that had not been revealed. Was this just a protective inclination on the part of the father to provide his kid the seclusion and safety he needed to fully recover? Or had Bill started to have doubts that the whole surgical operation was not entirely right? His instincts, which he had learnt to trust from years of experience in high-stakes business operations, may suddenly be alerting him to the possibility that he had been duped into a scenario that would hurt rather than benefit his kid. An already complicated scenario became much more complicated when it was revealed that Bill had been totally ignorant about Liam's brain tumor until a few days before. This ignorance raised the possibility that the tumor's discovery coincided with Grace's financial troubles at the ideal moment, bringing opportunity and desperation together in a potentially hazardous situation. The fact that these occurrences are coincidence would probably not be lost on someone with Bill Spencer's level of insight and expertise. Bill had reached his breaking point due to the emotional toll of almost losing his kid to a gunshot wound, and then learning that he was also dealing with a potentially fatal brain tumor. Long overdue healing and bonding opportunities were provided by the possibility of finally being able to spend time with Liam as he recovered. However, this optimism for a time of rehabilitation might swiftly turn into another nightmare scenario if his rising suspicions about Grace's genuine objectives turn out to be true. Grace's financial predicament and her possible readiness to violate her medical ethics for selfish ends have led to a powder cake of dramatic tension that might blow out at any time. The repercussions might be disastrous if Grace's urgent desire for money has placed Liam's life in danger. Not only for the Spencer family, but also for Grace, who would be subject to professional and legal consequences that would permanently ruin her reputation and career. Then, when Eric Forrester pushes the boundaries of his unrelenting attempt to control his son's romantic life, we will discover the combustible family drama that is shredding the Forrester dynasty. Longtime fans are in complete shock and indignation at the Forrester Empire's patriarch's public foray into perilous area. Eric Forrester has organized what seems to be an innocent business opportunity that is everything but innocent in what can only be called a masterpiece in emotional manipulation. His most recent plot included sending his son Rich Forrester, along with his ex-wife Brooke Logan, on a purportedly business-related trip to the picturesque Italian city of Naples. Given that Ridge has already formally engaged Taylor Hayes, the timing of this complex arrangement couldn't be more premeditated or tragic. Viewers who had been following Ridge and Taylor's rekindled relationship were taken by surprise in the July 15, 2025 episode as Eric's machinations played out with the accuracy of a chess master setting up his pieces for checkmate. Eric's total disdain for everyone's mental health, including his own son's happiness, and the security of relationships that have taken months to mend and deepen, is what makes this scenario so frustrating. Eric sat in his lavish office, surrounded by the trappings of power and prosperity during the crucial moment that has rocked the fan base. He laid out his plan for this trip to Naples methodically. He spoke with a hint of nostalgia, recalling the wonderful times he, Ridge, and Brooke had spent in the charming Italian seaside city on past trips. He wasn't just being nostalgic when he spoke about these recollections. It was deliberately crafted to sow the seeds of romantic possibilities and desire in Ridge's imagination. Eric used corporate language to justify Brooke's inclusion in this commercial endeavor, highlighting her influence and popularity in the Italian market and asserting that her participation would greatly increase Forrester Creations' visibility and sales potential in the area. Anyone with half a brain, however, can see through this obvious facade to the real reason that lies behind it. Eric's steadfast conviction that Ridge and Brooke are a destined couple that goes beyond reason, time, and existing romantic commitments. Eric's total incapacity to acknowledge or respect the reality that Ridge is no longer a young, naive guy in need of paternal instruction in matters of the heart is the most troubling feature of his actions. After decades of love relationships, heartache, and personal development, Ridge Forrester is finally a grandpa. Without his father's overbearing meddling, he has gained the freedom to choose his own partners and romantic partners. Nevertheless, Eric still treats him as if he were in his early 20s and couldn't handle the difficulties of adult relationships without his father's help-finding partner. Devoted viewers have responded quickly and largely negatively. The world of the bold and the beautiful form has turned into a battlefield of viewpoints as fans have taken to social media and discussion boards to vent their disgust and annoyance at Eric's deceptive methods. One particularly outspoken viewer called Eric's actions pathetic and disgusting. A fan who went by DC reiterated the view, pointing out that Eric is treating his adult son, who is now a grandpa, as if he were in his early 20s, which wonderfully encapsulated the ridiculousness of the scenario. Meanwhile, Taylor Hayes has exhibited extraordinary awareness and self-preservation instincts as she plainly notices the writing on the wall. She pressed Ridge for a firm wedding date as soon as the news of the vacation to Naples was announced. A gesture that shows how well she understands the delicate situation she is in. Ridge's erratic feelings and his complex connection with Brooke Logan are nothing new to Taylor. She has already experienced this agonizing path many times, so she is well aware of how these love plots often develop. Taylor clearly understands the danger this trip brings to their relationship, as seen by her haste to finalize their wedding arrangements before the Naples trip can happen. She has learnt from years of dealing with Ridge's behavior pattern that being close to Brooke, particularly in romantic situations, tends to evoke memories and emotions that may sabotage even the most serious of engagements. She is not acting like a Priscilla or impatiently demanding a wedding date. This is a calculated action meant to keep her heart safe and ensure her future with the guy she loves. Taylor made a fascinating allusion to Nick Marone's return to the canvas in the same episode. This comment would suggest that Taylor is worried about more competition for Ridge's attention, even if viewers weren't fully aware of the development's immediate impact. Or it can imply that Nick's return will bring fresh issues that might have unanticipated effects on the fragile balance of relationships. Whatever the particular ramifications, Taylor's knowledge of Nick's existence complicates an already tense situation. In an unexpected demonstration of poise under duress, Donna Logan demonstrated exceptional diplomacy and skill in negotiating the perilous seas of familial allegiance. Being Brooke's sister and Eric's current lover, Donna was in a difficult situation where she had to choose between honoring Ridge's fiancé and encouraging her sister's prospects. Even those who aren't usually fans of her character were pleased by the maturity and care with which she handled a difficult talk with Taylor. Donna handled the matter by maintaining tactful boundaries with Taylor while expressing support for her sister's involvement in the vacation to Naples. In an effort to deflect attention from the evident romantic overtones of the work trip, she even tried to lighten the atmosphere by cracking jokes about Eric's love of Italian pizza. Donna's performance was praised by one viewer who acknowledged that she typically dislikes her character, saying, "I appreciated how she handled that conversation today. I'm sure it's awkward for her, but I thought she was sweet and respectful." Nevertheless, even though Donna is being diplomatic, she is unwittingly aiding Eric's devious plan by encouraging Brooke to participate in this blatant setup. Her kind and courteous manner doesn't alter the fact that she's actively contributing to what may end up being the breakdown of Ridge and Taylor's relationship. Whether deliberate or not, this involvement complicates an already difficult moral issue further. Naples, Italy, the venue of this phony business vacation, was picked with extreme care. Everything Eric thinks will reignite Ridge and Brooke's passion is symbolized by the city. World-class food, charming cobblestone streets, breathtaking Mediterranean vistas, and an ambience that virtually begs for romance. At the hopes that being at the same location where they had wonderful memories could somehow overcome Ridge's present commitment to Taylor, Eric is obviously relying on nostalgia and setting to work their magic on his son and former daughter-in-law. The timing is what irritates me the most about this whole scenario. Ridge has made what looked to be a real commitment to Taylor, going so far as to propose marriage and begin planning their future together. Eric, on the other hand, is methodically destroying his son's relationship at every opportunity, treating Ridge's engagement as if it were a passing challenge that needed to be conquered rather than a sincere commitment deserving of love and encouragement. One fan's especially insightful statement aptly encapsulated the problematic scenario. Ridge calls Brooke and her kid derogatory names and rejects her at the drop of a hat. However, Brooke is grinning at the chance to spend time with Ridge in Naples or somewhere else. The sight of it is just sickening. The poisonous pattern that has characterized Ridge and Brooke's relationship for years is highlighted in this statement. A pattern of severe rejection followed by romantic reunion that has become cliched and emotionally draining for both parties. The dramatic family drama involving Lee Finnegan's unexpected transition from Luna Noah's sharpest critic to her unusual ally will next be covered. The intricate web of ties that has characterized the Finnegan family for months has reached a catastrophic turning point that no one anticipated, as heartbreaking family secrets continue to redefine the whole Finnegan-Noah dynamic. The chief physician and stoic Lee Finnegan, who has continuously remained composed in the face of many medical crises, is now struggling with feelings that might overpower her well-built barriers. Her prior attitude towards her disturbed niece Luna was quite clear. She wanted nothing to do with the young lady whose destructive deeds had left everyone she came into contact with in a state of turmoil and ruin. However, Lee's viewpoint has completely changed as a result of the recent disclosure that Luna is really her granddaughter rather than just her niece, leaving both viewers and other characters to ponder the ramifications. This shocking revelation has made Lee face the fact that her personal sentiments as a family member and her professional responsibilities as a doctor are now irrevocably linked in ways she never would have imagined. The armor of indifference she had so meticulously built around her heart is starting to come apart under the weight of this information. In the antiseptic, high-stress setting of the emergency department, where choices involving life and death must be made with split-second accuracy, the crucial event that would permanently change the course of this plot took place. Lee was put to the ultimate test of her medical ethics and personal beliefs as paramedics hurried Luna's comatose body through the hospital doors. She had vowed to maintain a hypocritical oath as a doctor, which required her to treat every patient regardless of their prior behavior or her own emotions for them. In an adjacent treatment room, Lee used her decades of medical experience to one of the most emotionally taxing operations of her career, while Dr. John Finnegan and his committed medical team battled non-stop to save Liam Spencer's life. The audience saw a side of Lee that had not been seen so often. Her steadfast dedication to protecting life, even when it belonged to someone who had brought her family unimaginable suffering. Many onlookers, who had anticipated that she would adopt a more clinically detached approach, were taken aback by the fervor with which she embraced Luna's therapy. As Lee struggled to balance her professional obligation with her personal resentment of Luna, the emergency room turned into a battlefield of conflicting agendas. Every medical procedure she carried out appeared to have extra significance, as if she were debating the basic issue of whether some individuals are deserving of forgiveness in spite of their previous wrongdoings, rather than just treating a patient. As her mind wrestled with the moral intricacies of the situation, her hands, sure and steady from years of skill, operated with mechanical perfection. According to speculations that are now making the rounds on the brave and beautiful rumor mill, Luna is aware that Zawa's destiny will drastically change in the next episodes, with suggestions that she would be declared dead in what seems to be a devastating end to her troublesome plot. Seasoned viewers, however, are aware that death on daytime television is seldom as permanent as it first seems, and there are mounting signs that Luna's death could be a complex ruse intended to provide her with a new beginning away from the mayhem she has caused. The growing body of evidence that implicates Lee Finnegan as the mastermind behind this possible deceit has produced an intriguing character analysis that upends viewers' preconceived notions about the devoted doctor. The idea that Lee would jeopardize her medical license, her name in the industry, and her moral character in order to stage Luna's death and covertly take her to an unknown facility for recuperation is a total reversal of her earlier stance on her niece's future. Many issues about Lee's intentions and the extent to which she could go to defend someone she formerly believed to be beyond salvation are brought up by this possible narrative twist. Access to medical records, extraordinary organization, and the assistance of other medical experts who would need to be complicit in the deception are all necessary for the practicalities of staging a death in a hospital environment. Being a well-known doctor would provide Lee the authority and connections she needed to pull off such a complex plot. Given the immense harm Luna has caused to the lives of so many cherished characters, the creative team behind The Bold and the Beautiful confronts a formidable task in trying to restore her nose character. Although Lisa Umatada has always played Luna in a captivating way, the authors have constructed what many believe to be an insurmountable barrier to public acceptance. In the realm of daytime drama, the crimes Luna has perpetrated, the lives she has devastated, and the trust she has broken symbolize a degree of treachery that is often unsurmountable. But Lee Finnegan's new campaign for Luna's redemption presents a fascinating new dimension that could unpredictably alter the course of the story. A previously unheard-of chance for character rehabilitation is created by Lee's medical knowledge, her respected status in the community, and her newly discovered knowledge of Luna's familial ties. She holds a lot of weight since she is ready to risk her own reputation on Luna's ability to be saved, which may affect how other characters and viewers regard the disturbed young lady. One of the most intense episodes in recent memory is expected to occur during the impending showdown between Lee and her sister Poppy Natsa. Lee's choice to explicitly blame Poppy for Luna's destructive behavior marks a significant change in how the family dynamic will be presented going forward, as decades of bitterness and disappointment eventually blow out into open confrontation. The relationship between the sisters will surely suffer long-term damage as a result of the terrible ramifications of the charge that Luna never had a chance with Mom as a mother. Years of watching from the sidelines as her sister made decision after decision that Lee thought would unavoidably result in catastrophe are reflected in Lee's criticism of Poppy's parenting style and life decisions. Lee's rage is further complicated by the realization that Luna is truly Finn's daughter, as she now sees Poppy's shortcomings as having had an unthinkable direct influence on her own son's life. What may have been a purely professional worry is turned into a very personal betrayal by this intimate relationship. Whether Poppy can really be held accountable for all of Luna's behaviors after moving to Los Angeles raises important questions about nature versus nurture, individual accountability, and how much childhood events influence behavior as an adult. Lee seems to believe that good parenting may have stopped Luna from descending into destructive behavior, which implies that she believes there is still hope for redemption if the correct support network is put in place. The sisters' intellectual differences provide a rich environment for dramatic conflict that reaches beyond their immediate family. Lee instinctively searches for underlying reasons and viable remedies because of her medical education and scientific approach to issue resolution. However, Lee believes that Poppy's more intuitive and sentimental way of living has led to a habit of reactive decision-making that is seriously wrong. Fascinating considerations about the strength of blood ties and genetic ties are raised by the discovery that Lee's attitude towards Luna has changed so drastically upon discovering her real ancestry. It seems that Luna's fatherly upbringing and unconditional affection, as well as the fact that she shares DNA with Finn, have triggered protective tendencies in Lee that she was unaware she had. Years of criticism and disappointment have somehow been overcome by this biological link, indicating that Lee's capacity for forgiving is far more than anybody had previously thought. Viewers are left wondering whether Luna knows everything deserves another chance to show herself deserving of atonement as this plot line develops. The harm she has inflicted cannot be undone, and neither can the crimes she has committed. However, Lee's readiness to put everything on the line to give her granddaughter another opportunity at life shows that the strength of familial ties and the desire for true change can soften even the hardest hearts.